The latest battle of the graphics cards has begun, with the Geforce 10 series squaring up against AMD's 400 series. Simply put, this battle should result in significantly faster, cheaper, and more power-efficient PCs for everyone, which should lower the cost of PC gaming and will make VR within the price range of the masses. It's great news, provided that you haven't recently already bought a graphics card. But why is this such a big jump? Well, 5 or 10 years ago it wouldn't have been. It used to be expected that almost every new generation of graphics cards was significantly faster and more efficient than the ones before it. This was achieved by a double whammy of the cards being better designed, but also because it would be built using a smaller and more efficient technology than before. But in the past couple of years, things have slowed down. We've been stuck on the same size of tech for a long time. The past 3 generations of cards from both teams have been built on the same 28nm process. It's incredible how much speed we've managed to squeeze out of this same tech. But now both sides are moving to 16nm, which means that they can cram almost 4 times as much stuff in the same amount of space. And hopefully it's better designed as well. So how's this war being waged? Nvidia was first to market with their 1070 and 1080 cards, which are currently the fastest single cards ever built. But they're also expensive. AMD has chosen to respond by releasing cheaper, mainstream cards. These aren't intended to compete with Nvidia's super fast cards, but they don't need to. They instead target the needs of the majority of gamers, who want something that's fast, but also affordable. In my opinion, this is a great move from AMD, since a popular mid-range card would increase their market share more than a niche, super expensive card could. The problem at the moment is that we still don't know a lot about AMD's cards. I mean, they're not out yet, so unlike Nvidia's, we only have the specs and what AMD says about them to go on. The first of these cards are scheduled to be released at the end of this month on June the 29th. As I said, it's not intended to be as fast as Nvidia's new cards, but should at least be fast enough to be competitive with the high-end cards of the previous generation. Remember, there's no such thing as a bad card, only a bad price. And AMD's 480 looks to be priced very, very competitively. And in all honesty, I'm more excited about this than about faster cards. Cause here's my situation. I spent £300 on a Geforce 670 4 years ago. For any card remotely worth upgrading to, I'm still looking at about £200 now. It just hasn't been worth it. I've got a 4K monitor sitting here, yet there still hasn't been a card at any price that can even power current games properly at this resolution. I guess I'm still living with the mindset from 10 years ago, where a new generation of cards meant either significant price drops or huge performance increases. Or both. And it might be naive, but I'm just hoping that the Radeon 400 series can result in at least one of these things. In presentations, they've been comparing a single Geforce 1080 against 2 480Xs to demonstrate that you can get similar performance using both, though the whole 50% utilization thing's a bit misleading. It doesn't mean that it'll be twice as fast if it was 100% batch usage. This obscure statistic was probably used to make direct comparisons difficult, so Nvidia doesn't know how to react until release day. However, various benchmarks have been leaked. Remember, we don't know the clock speeds with which these were tested, but they put a single 480 card roughly in line with the Radeon 390 and Geforce 980 series, which is good. Robert from AMD more recently said that dual GPUs get 1.83 times the performance of just one card, which would mean that a lone 480 would get 34 FPS against the 1080's 59, slightly better than half. I'm interested to see how Nvidia responds. They won't just idly sit by as AMD gobbles up the largest chunk of the market. In response, they'll either lower the prices of their 1070 and 1080, or more likely they'll release a slower 1060 card instead to compete, since this also lets them keep their more expensive cards where they are. It makes sense to do this since they'll still continue to make a huge profit on these more expensive cards. And why shouldn't they, until AMD can come up with something that can compete with them? Nothing has been officially announced yet, but I don't think that AMD will just give up the high end. I expect them to release their 490 series to better compete with Nvidia's 1070 and 1080 cards in terms of speed. And in the ultra high end, Nvidia will probably release a 1080 Ti card. The Ti series has always been significantly faster than their standard version in the past. I'm hoping that AMD will also be able to compete with this. From roadmaps, it looks as though AMD's Vega could power their new Fury cards, which have previously represented the fastest cards that they have to offer. It's definitely a very exciting year, whichever company you choose to go with. And let's not forget the previous generation of cards. I'm sure that there will be plenty of these going cheaply as shops clear their stocks and are still a viable option for people choosing to upgrade. A lot rests on how much the 480 shakes up graphics card pricing. It will no doubt cause price drops across the board, and this is why we need competition in the graphics card market. Without AMD, Nvidia will continue to be able to sell their stuff at whatever price they choose. And although this video is about graphics cards, it's worth mentioning processors, where it's AMD versus Intel. Right now, it's a bleak outlook on what an uncompetitive industry looks like. Unlike the graphics card market, AMD's chips are more power hungry than Intel's and can normally only compete with their cheaper products. As a result, beyond AMD's level of performance, Intel is free to charge what they like since there's no competition to drive prices down. And as if this wasn't bad enough for the processor market, general progress has majorly slowed down as well. Each new generation sees a tiny jump in performance and efficiency. Maybe it's because Intel's also struggling to improve things. But the cynic in me says that Intel's cashing in on the situation and is waiting for AMD to catch up. For the first time in a decade, AMD might be able to do this with their new Zen processors. If anything, this is even more exciting and important than the current graphics card war. But it's not for this video. Let's just hope that this depressing situation doesn't happen with graphics cards. In my opinion, any claims about future products must be taken with a pinch of salt. It's always best to wait for official reviews and benchmarks before judging a card. And what good is a card that's difficult to get hold of? Let's hope that AMD's 480 is available in large quantities come the day of release. Right now, Nvidia holds the cards by having released first and is currently playing the market the way it's meant to be played. AMD's hope is that the 480 can be produced as cheaply as possible so that they can undercut whatever reaction Nvidia throws their way. If you're looking to buy a graphics card, it makes sense to wait until the 480 is released. Sure, you could always wait a bit longer for a better deal, but there are definitely good and bad times to buy, and up till now has been pretty goddamn awful. Let's hope that AMD can shake things up.